Who will be UFC champion in each division by the end of this year? That is what I'm going to answer in today's prediction video. My name is James Lynch. Before I get into today's topic, make sure you hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit that notification bell on this video. Those three things really do help out this channel a lot, and I'd really appreciate it. Okay, let's get into predicting the UFC champions for the end of the year. I've been asked this question a number of times. Rather than just say what I think on the fly, I did a bit of research. I came up with a few theories. I know some of these are going to be out here. That's all good. This is all just hypothetical discussion here. Let's have some fun with this. And we're going to start first in the heavyweight division. So how this is going to work is I'm going to reveal who I think will be champion, and then I'm going to explain why I think they'll be champion. So the time we're recording this, January 13th, 2023. This is a bit earlier for the Patreons, and for the rest of you, you're watching this like everyone else. Francis is a free agent at the moment right now. Now, he currently can negotiate with the UFC. So I think that's a key detail here because I think that does somewhat affect why I'm going to be picking the champion that I'm going to be picking. And it's not Francis Ngannou. It is Ciryl Gane. I think Ciryl Gane's going to be champ. Now, here's my reasoning, okay? I actually put this in two different contexts. So let's talk first about the context that Francis is not coming back to the UFC. I think that's entirely possible. He's been very vocal about fighter pay. There's the whole picture about his relative wearing the PFL shirt. You know, PFL seems to be spending a lot of money and paying out a lot of money. That's possible. Also, keep in mind, where does Francis Ngannou train? He trains at Extreme Couture. Who's one of the coaches there or someone that works there? It's Ray Sefo, who also runs PFL. So there's a tie-in there. You could definitely see that happening. But let's pretend, for argument's sake, that Francis does stay with the UFC. I still don't think he's champion, and here's why. I think that Ciryl Gane ends up beating Francis Ngannou in a rematch. Let's say Francis stays. I think Cyryl's going to make enough adjustments in the second fight to defeat him. Ciryl is, every fight improving bit by bit. He made a few mistakes in that first fight. He didn't get knocked out. I mean, how many fighters live to tell the tale of surviving a Francis Ngannou fight? Not a lot do. Ciryl Gane can. Ciryl Gane's taken lots of heavy shots. He's taken a shot from Tai Tuivasa. I don't think he gets knocked out. I think Gane has the right game plan. Keep in mind his coach, Fernand Lopez, knowing Francis very well. I think Gane goes out there and beats Ngannou in the rematch. Now, let's say Ngannou does not resign. He goes to PFL. I still think Ciryl Gane's going to be champion because I think what would happen is Ciryl would then fight John Jones. I do think John will fight this year. I know it seems unlikely. Even if he doesn't, I think whoever Ciryl fights right now, I'm looking at the rankings, I think he beats all of them. Let's pretend, though, that Ciryl fights John Jones. I think Curtis Blades and Sergey Pavlovich fight each other as an alternate fight. And then you have Sergey Spivak and Tom Aspinall fighting. I know Spivak's fighting Derek Lewis. I think Spivak beats Derek Lewis. So you end up getting Blades Pavlovich, Spivak, Aspinall. The winner of those two fights fight each other, and then they fight the winner of Gane in 2024, or even earlier. It could be even earlier than that, but Gane maybe getting his first title defense. But I really feel like Ciryl Gane will be the heavyweight champion. Okay, next fight we are going to look at, or next division we're going to look at, we're going to move down a little bit. We're going to go to the light heavyweight division. There's currently no champion. We have UFC 283 next Saturday, the time of recording this. Jamal Hill, Glover Teixeira. If you've watched my early look preview, you know who I think is going to win that fight. However, here's who I think is going to be champion by the end of the year. That's right, Magomed Ankalaev, 18-1-1. I think he's going to get it done. Now, here's how we got here, okay? Listen to my theory on this one. So I think Jamal Hill beats Glover Teixeira. Did a preview on this already. Spoiler alert, if you haven't seen it, go check it out. I think Hill knocks him out. After that, I think Jamal Hill fights Magomed Ankalaev because I think most people felt like Ankalaev won that fight against Jan. He's younger. You look at who his manager is. I think it's very likely that Ankalaev fights the winner, and I think Yuri's injury will keep him out too long. So I think once Hill beats Glover, they then, because again, you got to remember, Conor, is he going to come back this year? There's a number of chips for the UFC that I don't know how soon they're going to fight. So the UFC needs to keep putting on title fights. So I think if Hill goes out there, gets a quick win over Glover, finishes him, doesn't take a lot of damage, they rebook another fight before Yuri can come back. So I see Ankalaev fighting Jamal Hill, and I don't think Jamal Hill beats him. You guys know how high I am on Jamal Hill. I think it's going to be very tough to knock out Ankalaev, and I think Ankalaev is just more well-rounded. So I see Ankalaev winning a decision against Jamal Hill after that. And then some alternate fights, and again, I'm just going to mention these because I know this doesn't have anything to do with the champion, but I think the UFC might end up doing Jan Blachowicz and Anthony Smith. Smith's without an opponent. Ankalaev, you see there, gets the title shot. Blachowicz probably wants another fight. He can fight Anthony Smith. It's a fresh matchup. And I think this then sets up a Magomed Ankalaev and Yuri Prochazka fight in 2024. That's what I think is going to happen. So my second champion at the end of the year, I think, will be Magomed Ankalaev. Okay, let's go to the middleweight division. Alex Pereira is the current champ. Who do I think will be the champ at the end of the year? Drumroll, please, as I'm stumbling all over my words. I need the Price is Right music or something like that or the Jeopardy music to bring this down, but we don't have that type of technology here on the channel. So here's who I think it's going to be. Israel Adesanya. Okay, here's how I get Israel Adesanya as the middleweight champion here. Hear me out for a second here. I think Israel Adesanya defeats Alex Pereira in the rematch. Before you people nitpick, I realize that he's fought him twice in kickboxing. It's still a rematch in MMA. That's how I'm calling it. I think Adesanya will make the adjustments. Remember, he was winning that fight against Pereira. He got caught. Pereira can certainly knock him out again. I'm not, naive to that. I just think Adesanya is too smart of a fighter, and he's got too good of a coach in Eugene Behrman to make that mistake again. So I think Adesanya beats Pereira in the rematch. I think Dracus du Plessis defeats Derek Brunson. I have a preview on that coming out here soon. You'll understand why. And then I think he fights the winner of Vettori and Dolidze, and I think Dolidze ends up winning, Vettori ends up beating Dolidze. So I think you'll get Dracus and Vettori. And then I also think on the other side of the bracket, in terms of the rankings, I think Whitaker and Costa do end up fighting, but it'll be at a later date. I think Costa will work out his differences with the UFC, and I think he will fight Robert Whitaker. But the problem is with Adesanya as champ is that, it's going to delay things in terms of Whitaker getting another title shot. If it was Pereira, fresh blood, understand. But I think most likely Adesanya will be the champion again next year. Again, could Pereira knock him out? Absolutely. But I'm going with Adesanya there. Okay, let's get to the welterweight division now. Current champion right now is Leon Edwards. And at the time of recording this, it's not official, but it does look like he will fight Kamaru Usman in their trilogy fight. So who do I think is going to be champion? Maybe a bit of a wild card here. I'm going with Khamzat Chimaev. Now, how did I get to Khamzat Chimaev? Well, here's how I sort of figured all this out. I think Kamaru Usman beats Leon Edwards in the trilogy. Spoiler alert, I will do an early look preview on that soon to explain why I think that is. I think Usman retires after that. I don't think he wants to fight Chimaev. I don't think he wants to fight anyone else. He's getting up there in age. Usman's, mid-30s. He's made a lot of money. He's done quite well in his career. I think with that loss, that certainly changed things, but I think he'll go back, get the belt, vacate. So then what you would have is a situation where Khamzat Chimaev and Bilal Muhammad fight for a vacant title. I think that makes the most sense here. I know there's some questions about Chimaev making weight. I mean, Chimaev might never fight at 170 again, but I'm banking on the fact that he had a bad cut or whatever happened there with Nate Diaz. I think he's best served to compete at welterweight just because that's where he has the most advantages. He's bigger, he's stronger, etc. So I think Chimaev does come to 170. I think he makes the weight, and I think he goes out there and beats Bilal Muhammad for the vacant title, and I think he ends up still being champion, and maybe he makes the title defense. Maybe he fights Leon. I'm not sure, but I have a hard time seeing most people in that division defeating Khamzat Chimaev. So I'm going to say Khamzat Chimaev is going to be the welterweight champion by the end of the year. Let's get to the lightweight division. I don't think this one's a huge shocker here. By the end of the year, I think Islam Makhachev will be champion. I already did an early look preview on the Alex Volkanovski and Islam fight. I think Makhachev wins that fight. From there, this is some other creative thinking here. Well, I shouldn't say too creative, but here's some other things I think are going to happen. I think after he defeats Volkanovski, I think you see Rafael Fiziev and Justin Gaethje fight or something like that. And I think Fiziev wins that. I think Arman Saryukin's going to fight someone like Michael Chandler. And then it's going to be whoever looks more impressive, and that fighter will then fight the winner of Islam Makhachev and Beneil Dariush. I think Makhachev defeats Dariush. Remember who their manager is, right? Dariush kind of got screwed over in that whole situation with the title picture and all that. And, I think Dariush will wait to fight the winner of the Volkanovski and Makhachev fight, because remember, that's taking place next month. It's not like he has to wait too long, depending on, the damage taken and all that. And then what I think will happen is I think Makhachev will then fight whoever, either Fiziev or Arman in 2024. I think that's what happens there, but I do see Islam being the champ. Side note, Dustin Poirier, where does he fit into all this? I think Poirier goes to 170. I think at this point, he's fought for the title a few times. I think he's more concerned about, big fights. I think there's bigger fights for him at 170. He does cut a lot of weight. I could see Poirier moving up. That's just, again, another out there prediction, but I'm just, again, that's the fun of this thing. A lot of this is not going to end up coming true, but these are things that I'm thinking of in my head. Okay, let's go down to the featherweight division. Alex Volkanovski, don't think there's a shocker there. So how did we get here? Volkanovski loses to Islam. He goes back down to 145. He then fights the winner of Rodriguez and Emmett. If you've watched my early look preview of that, I think Rodriguez beats Josh Emmett. And then I think Volkanovski defeats Rodriguez. Arnold Allen will be in the mix. Maybe that sets up a fight with Arnold and Volkanovski in 2024. Maybe Arnold fights someone else in between there just to keep active. But I think you will see an Alex Volkanovski and Arnold Allen fight in 2024. Maybe this year, but I think that's, with Volkanovski having to fight up at lightweight and all that, I could see him maybe only having one title defense this year as opposed to maybe 2 or 3. So again, I think Volkanovski will be the featherweight champion. All right, let's get to the women's bantamweight division. Don't think I forgot about the women here. I just, figured we'd go heavyweight downward. And this one's a bit tricky, but right now we have Amanda Nunes as the current champ. You've got Juliana Pena, Ketlin Vieira, Holly Holm, etc. chomping at the bit. So who do I think will be champion by the end of the year? I think it's going to end up being Juliana Pena, the former champion. Now, here's how we got here. I think Nunes gets one title defense, and I don't think it's against Valentina. I also think from the standpoint of Nunes as well, I think that, is that a last fight you want? I mean, technically, Nunes has defeated Valentina Shevchenko 2 times, right? Whether you thought the second fight was close or not, she still has 2 wins. So I don't think she gives Valentina a third fight there. I think what ends up happening is Nunes gets one more fight in this year, maybe like an Irene Aldana, but we know the story here. She's a parent now. She's got the new gym. I think she's kind of on her way out. I think that was a very good win over Pena in her last fight. But I think she fights someone, and I think that someone she ends up fighting is Irene Aldana. I think Aldana is the one opponent out there who isn't currently booked at the time we're doing this. They're going to want to put Nunes in there. Remember, the UFC, like I mentioned before, they need headliners. They need big fights. So they'll probably do a title fight with someone against Nunes, and I think Irene Aldana makes a lot of sense. So I think she fights Aldana. It's a fresh matchup. I think Nunes beats Aldana. Then she vacates the title. And then from there, what I see happening is we have the winner of the Ketlin Vieira and Raquel Pennington fight this Saturday, fighting the winner, fighting Juliana Pena next. I think that's what ends up happening here. I do see Raquel Pennington winning this Saturday. Might be wrong about that. We'll see. We'll find out. And then I think Juliana Pena defeats Raquel Pennington and for the vacant title. And I think Juliana Pena ends up being your champion at the end of this thing. So again, I see Juliana Pena reclaiming her title at some point by the end of the year, not for defeating Nunes, but for winning a vacant title. Okay, let's go to Bantamweight. Have a quick look at the men's Bantamweight division since we just did women. Where are we here? Okay, Bantamweight. Aljamain Sterling, the current champ. We just found out this week he's going to be out for a bit. Not going to have a fight with Henry Cejudo because he has a biceps injury. So right now we don't know what's going on with the title. So again, had to get a bit creative here. But who do I think will be champion by the end of the year? Still going to go with Aljamain Sterling. And here's how we got here. This is what I think could happen in the division. I think that Henry Cejudo is not going to fight this year. I've maintained this. I still am going to maintain this. I think it's all smoke and mirrors. I think he does this for content on his channel. That's my theory on Henry Cejudo. In the USADA pool and all that stuff, I don't think he ever fights. So what ends up happening with some of the other fights? I think Piotr Jan fights Merab Dvalishvili. And I think the winner of that fight fights Umar Nurmagomedov, who's fighting tomorrow, but I think he's going to win. He's like a -100 favorite. I think Sean O'Malley ends up fighting the Corey Sandhagen and Chito Vera winner. I think Sandhagen wins that fight. And then I think Sandhagen defeats Sean O'Malley. From there, I think Aljamain Sterling fights Corey Sandhagen again and defeats him in their rematch by the end of the year. So I do see Sterling getting a title defense in. I think he'll beat Sandhagen. And then I think that Umar fights the winner of Jan Merab. I think Umar beats that winner, and this sets up an Umar Nurmagomedov and Aljamain Sterling fight for next year, for 2024. I don't know if it'll happen this year. Again, Umar's not fighting a ranked opponent at the time we're doing this, so I could see him needing at least 2 fights or maybe 1 or 2 fights to do that. So maybe Umar actually fights someone else. Then maybe he fights the Jan Merab winner or something like that. Again, getting kind of creative here, but I do think Sterling will be the champion by the end of the year. Let's go to the flyweight division. Don't think there's any surprise here. I still have Valentina Shevchenko being the flyweight champion. I think it's pretty obvious right now that Valentina is going to end up fighting Alexa Grasso. I think she wins that fight. Grasso to me hasn't been that impressive. And then I think what ends up happening is Manon Fior fights the winner of the Talia Santos and Erin Blanchfield fight. I love Erin Blanchfield, very high in her. I think it's too much of a step up. I think Santos wins that. From there, I think Santos fights Manon Fior. I think Manon Fior defeats Santos and ends up fighting Valentina Shevchenko, where she loses that fight and Shevchenko wins that again. However, Tatiana Suarez, this is the wild card in the division. I think Suarez, I think most people believe, will defeat Montana Del Rocha, and then I think she gets a top 5 opponent, and I think she wins that. This is going to set up a Valentina Shevchenko, Tatiana Suarez title fight in 2024. That's what I think will happen. But at the very least, I think Shevchenko will be the champion by the end of the year. And we're almost done here. Let's go to the men's flyweight division. Right now, we have Davison Figueiredo as the champion right now. Where are we here? Did I just go the opposite direction? I did. My bad. Davison Figueiredo is the champ. If you guys have watched my early look preview, you know that I think that Brandon Moreno is going to beat Davison Figueiredo. And that's also why I think Brandon Moreno will end up being champion by the end of the year. But here's how we got here, okay? I think Brandon Moreno defeats Figueiredo. I think Brandon Moreno then fights Alexander Pantoja, who, if you guys remember, they have fought each other. So I think he goes and gets some revenge and takes out Pantoja after defeating Figueiredo. And yeah, I think that's enough for him. Maybe he gets one more fight in. And I think you'll see names like Mohamed Mokaev, Manel Kape, Amir Albazi, all chomping at the bit, but one of them, I don't know if they get a title shot, and if they do, I still think Moreno will come out on top out of any of the mix of guys there. So I think by the end of next year, you will see, or this year, I should say, you'll see Brandon Moreno as the champ. And finishing things off, we are going to go to the women's strawweight division. We've got Zhang Weili as the current champ, of course, winning the title from Carla Esparza late last year. And who do I think will be champ? I still think it's going to be Weili Zhang, but for not the reason you think. Here's why. I think Weili Zhang is going to end up fighting Amanda Lemos. I think she's going to defeat Amanda Lemos. I think Rose Namajunas is going to fight someone like Marina Rodriguez. However, I think Rose probably fights like once next year. I don't know what's going on with her. Rose is not very active. I don't know if her heart's in this. I mean, she just lost a grappling match. I just don't think Rose is in a good place mentally. As far as who's the best fighter in the division, it's Rose Namajunas. It's just if Rose is on or not. And I can't bank on that right now. So I think what's going to end up happening is Weili Zhang is, like I said, going to defeat Amanda Lemos. Maybe she defeats someone else. I don't think they give her, like I said, I think Rose is going to have to take another fight. So that's why I think she fights someone like Marina Rodriguez or Yan Shonan. I think she wins that fight because I think Rose is very good. But because Rose is not that active, I don't think she fights Weili Zhang until the year after, until 2024. So I think Zhang, regardless of who's in the division right now, I think she pretty much beats everyone, and I think she ends up retaining the title. So quick recap there. As far as the divisions, Cyril Gane's your heavyweight champion, Magomed Ankalaev's your light heavyweight champion, Israel Adesanya's your middleweight champion, Khamzat Chimaev's your welterweight champion, Islam Makhachev's your lightweight champion, Alex Volkanovski's your featherweight champion, Juliana Pena's your women's bantamweight champion, Aljamain Sterling is your bantamweight champion in the men's, Valentina Shevchenko women's flyweight, Brandon Moreno strawweight, and you've got not strawweight, flyweight. My bad. I was getting the things mixed up. And strawweight for the women. There we go. So that's who I think is going to be champ by the end of the year. All right, I threw a lot of stuff at you guys. I know, again, a lot of this may not pan out, but I just tried my best with the information that we have at this very moment, who I think is going to be champ and how I think they're going to get there, because I wanted to justify why I think they're champ. I think it's very lazy of people to say, oh yeah, I think Cyril Gane's going to be champ without explaining why. So that's how I see things. Do you guys agree? Do you disagree? I'm curious to hear your thoughts here. Let's have a fun discussion as opposed to name calling. I really appreciate that. One more time, make sure you hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit that notification bell. And you can also follow me on Twitter and on Instagram and on TikTok at Lynch on Sports. I'd really appreciate that. I'm James Lynch. Thanks so much for watching. I'll have a few more prediction videos out here the rest of the year, so keep an eye out for those. But I appreciate you watching this one, and if you like it, let me know. I'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks so much for watching.